What if everything you've been taught about society, about safety, about government is a lie? And I don't mean a small white lie. I mean a massive foundational myth that's holding you, right now, inside an invisible cage. You know, for thousands of years, we've built entire civilizations on stories. Stories we tell ourselves about who gets to have power and who has to obey. Welcome to Animeconomy. Today, we are tearing apart a book that asks that very question. It's called The Market for Liberty by Morris and Linda Tannehill, and it is a truly radical blueprint for a world without rulers. So here's our journey today. First, we're going to expose that invisible cage that Tannehills talk about. Then, we'll unleash the one powerful force they say can actually set us free. We're going to dismantle the whole myth of government being some kind of necessary evil before, finally, we dare to imagine what life actually looks like when you and only you are in charge of your own destiny.
You see, the Tannehills' entire argument, it all rests on one devastatingly simple idea. Our society is built on a foundation that's fundamentally immoral, and that is the initiation of force by a group of people who call themselves the government.
The book gives us one single, universal rule for a just society. It's called the non-aggression principle. But honestly, it's the rule you already know. It's what you were taught as a kid. You don't start the fight. You don't hit first. You don't take other people's stuff. Simple, right? So here's the kicker. If it's wrong for you to do those things, why is it suddenly okay when a group of people in suits do it and call it governing?
And that right there, that captures their core point perfectly. Think about it. When you're taxed, a chunk of your time, your effort, your life, really, is taken from you, against your will, to pay for things you might totally disagree with. When you're regulated, you're forced to act against your own best judgment. For the Tannehills, this isn't just some minor inconvenience, it's a master-slave relationship. It might be subtle, but you're being forced to sacrifice your own values for the so-called good of society.
Okay, so if government is the villain in this story, then who's the hero? Well, for the Tannehills, the answer is the free market. But they don't see it as just some economic theory you learn in a textbook. To them, it's more like a law of nature, an unseen force that organizes society peacefully and productively, with nobody in charge.
To really get the market, you have to understand that all human interaction kind of falls into two big buckets. On one side, you've got voluntary exchange. Let's say you buy a can of beans. You value those beans more than your dollar, and the shopkeeper values your dollar more than the beans. You both trade, and you both walk away better off. It's a total win-win. But on the other side, you've got coerced exchange. That's what government does. They take your dollar through taxes, you lose, they win. It's a zero-sum game that just sucks value out of society.
So, how does this market coordinate millions of people without a central planner telling them what to do? It's all about the profit and loss signal system. Imagine someone invents an amazing new battery. The huge profits they make are like a giant flare shooting into the sky, signaling to every other entrepreneur out there, hey, people really want this, get in here. So competitors rush in. That increases supply, it improves quality, and prices start to fall until those crazy high profits vanish. This system automatically corrects itself, constantly shifting resources to where you, the consumer, want them most. It's this incredible guidance system that governments, with their clumsy 5-year plans, could never, ever hope to match.
You know, we're always told that government is a necessary evil. It's a bitter pill we have to swallow for civilization. But the Tannehills ask this terrifying question. What if it's just an unnecessary one? What if all the services we've been taught only government can provide could actually be handled better, cheaper, and way more morally by the market?
People are understandably afraid of monopolies. But the book makes this absolutely critical distinction. A market monopoly, like Alcoa was in its early days, has to earn its top spot by being so darn good and so cheap that nobody else can keep up. But the second they get lazy or jack up prices, a competitor is going to come in and eat their lunch. A government, on the other hand, is a coercive monopoly. It keeps its position not by being the best, but by literally making it illegal for anyone else to compete in things like defense or the justice system. It only exists by banning its competition through force.
And this is the really unsettling psychological insight. A productive person, someone with genuine self-esteem, gets their fulfillment from creating value, from building things. They don't have this deep, nagging need to control other people. But a person who feels inadequate, who hasn't really achieved anything on their own terms, often seeks power over others as a substitute for real self-worth. So what happens? A system that is built on power will inevitably, like a magnet, attract the very people who crave power for its own sake. Look, If this reframing of power is making you think, and maybe it's making you a little uncomfortable, that's a good thing. Take a second to like this explainer and share it with someone else who isn't afraid to question the world.
All right, so far, this has been a pretty harsh critique. But this is the point where the book shifts gears and it paints this stunning vision of what's actually possible. What would a society governed entirely by the market and property rights? What would that actually look like?
Okay, this table here, this is where it gets really wild for a lot of people, so let's just walk through it. Instead of police who show up after a crime happens, paid for by taxes, imagine private defense agencies hired by your insurance company. Your insurer would have a direct financial incentive to stop crime before it happens, hiring patrols to keep your neighborhood safe just to minimize their own payouts. Now look at justice. This is a huge shift. Instead of a criminal paying a debt to society by sitting in a cage that we all pay for, they would owe a direct debt to their victim. The whole point would be to make the victim whole again, forcing the aggressor to work to pay back every dime for the harm they caused. Even roads could be private, competing to get your business with better maintenance and cool safety features, all funded by voluntary user fees, not taxes. And finally, money itself. It would go back to being a real commodity like gold or silver, whose value couldn't just be printed into oblivion by a central bank to fund wars or a politician's pet projects.
The ultimate problem solver in this whole new world is just one simple concept, but it's extended everywhere: property rights. We're told some problems, like pollution, are just too big for individuals to solve, but the Tannehills say that's only because we haven't applied property rights. Think about it. A factory can pollute a public river because, well, who owns it? Nobody. But what if a person or a community actually owned that river? Suddenly, dumping waste isn't just polluting, it's trespassing and damaging private property, and the owner can sue them for every penny of damage. This same model tackles resource conservation. A politician's incentive is to exploit resources now for short-term political gain before the next election. But a private owner of a forest, they have a direct financial stake in its long-term health. They will conserve it, manage it sustainably, not because they're a saint, but to protect the value of their own asset for their family and their future. It perfectly aligns self-interest with the public good.
So we've explored the system. But the Tannehills end with a challenge that is deeply, deeply personal. And I want us to slow down here for a minute because this goes way beyond economics or politics. This is about you.
In the world we live in now, it's so easy to blame our problems on something else. We blame the government, the system, the economy, this politician or that one. But in a truly free society, that excuse just vanishes. There is no one left to point the finger at. Your failures are your own.
But so are your successes. Total freedom means total responsibility. This isn't some utopia where life is easy. It's the ultimate test of your character. It's the terrifying but also exhilarating burden of knowing that the course of your life rests entirely in your hands.
And that brings us right to our final question. I want you to be really honest with yourself. If that cage just disappeared tomorrow, if there were no rules except don't hurt people and don't take their stuff, and no safety net but what you could build for yourself, what would you be most afraid of? Failure? What other people might do? Or maybe you'd be afraid of the pressure of your own untapped potential? Let me know your genuine thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for exploring these really challenging ideas with me today. You know, if you've stayed all the way to the end, it means you're not just curious. You are truly committed to understanding how the world is actually put together. And that discipline, right there, that separates you from the vast majority of people. And that's exactly what we do here at Animeconomy. We turn these complex ideas about economics, politics, and power into clear, visual stories. So if you want to keep sharpening your mind and understand how the world really works, make sure you subscribe. If this breakdown sparks something in you, I seriously encourage you to go right to the source. The link to get your own copy of The Market for Liberty is waiting for you in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.